So what I've been wondering, because we finished this press conference and we're out, and they're taking away 38% of the riverbank. And the math is saying that the water level will rise by 5 feet in case of a no change circumstance. We're looking at the no climate change situation. We're just looking at the flood lines which were previously there. And if the water level rises by 5 feet, has there been any study or any information on what happens if 7,200 square kilometers of rain catchment, water rises by 5 feet? What will be the impact on this one single outlet? Everybody thinks that we've got 5 rivers, but these 5 rivers flow into one, and this one single outlet is the outlet for all the flood water in Pune. So I'm trying to wonder what the impact will be, because you see in Germany, in the UK, you always had, they've taken away floodplains, and then when the flood came, they've had the circumstance where industries got flooded, things got. So then they are now restoring the water banks, and they're taking away the concrete, and they're doing all these things. I'm not even thinking about climate change, because Terry has said that there's going to be a 37% rise in rainfall. What do you think? What is it that we might have to see?
So definitely, if you are, that is simple physics, right?
Yeah, simple
If
physics.
you are going to reduce the wind, then the height has to increase, because there is that much water in the channel. I don't think anybody, while developing the DPR, has done any analysis of that. In fact, this 5 feet rise is also not clearly stated. It says that this is the current level of the river, and after channelizing, this is where the level will be when there is water in the river. So the difference in that is 5 feet. So they are also not directly realizing that what is the significance of this increase in height. What we ideally need to do is run some kind of simulation which will tell us under different circumstances what is going to happen to that water. Now, one argument is that we will be raising all those walls,
Those embankments,
on the
so to speak.
embankments,
Yeah.
and that will hold the water inside. But then that creates another problem, because the water coming into the river is not just coming from the dams when the doors are open.
Precisely.
There is water
Yes.
coming also from all the hills which surround Pune
Yes,
city.
yes.
And that water will rush towards the river, and then there will be these embankments. So that water will accumulate behind, which means that it is going to flood the city. So it is not even, forget about that 5 feet or anything. This is just simple logic of how the water flows move around and what happens if you create a barrier.
So let's say,
So even if you have some, like we also see there are these storm drains and
Yes,
whatever,
all
and
of
how
that, yes.
effective that is, we know that roads get flooded in spite of having storm drains.
Precisely.
Now,
So
again,
my question was going to come with that.
yeah.
We have had experiences with all these storm water drains,
Exactly.
and you have
And
a
then
natural
once
riparian
you have,
ecosystem.
and once you have the river water level raise, and if you have drains coming into that, the water is
further
more
up.
likely to flow
Further
out
up.
rather than outside water coming in. So I think whoever has done this DPR, I don't know what physics they studied in school. That is my basic question to them.
So
essentially.
thank you very much for shooting us, Aarti.
Thank you so much.
So Terry has come up with a report, and the report is suggesting that the rainfall increase in Pune will go up by about 37%. We are already seeing climate events like we saw in last October, where we got 108 millimeters of rainfall in barely a couple of hours. And Pune, although the roads aligning with the river got flooded, and they remained flooded for many hours after. So people were stuck in traffic with water logging and all of that happening with the river system and the river banks being intact, being naturally intact. Nobody poured any concrete into the river banks then. So I wonder, because Pune gets about 1200 millimeters of rainfall, and if you're looking at a roughly 30 to 40% increase, you're looking at an increase of 300 to 400 millimeters of rain. So I wonder what the possibility is of this corporation building going down in water.
Quite high possibilities, because it is pretty close from the river. See, the thing is, again, this is something which people have to run simulations on, because on one hand you are reducing the path for the water to flow, because two things are going to happen here. while the rainfall is increasing, the number of days of rain are reducing. That means when it rains, it pours. So in a very short time, a lot of
And a
water
lot of
will
rain
come
falls
down.
down, yes.
Now, let's think about two cases. One is, let's say that there is a lot of rainfall in the catchment area of the dam. So the dam is now full, and therefore the water is released from there. Now that water will flow through a narrower channel than what it is currently. So the water level is going to increase more than whatever has been estimated, because whatever has been estimated hasn't taken into account this 40% increase in rainfall. So something which happened in Sangli and Kolhapur a few years back, where excessively high rainfall, dam water had to be released because there was no way to hold that water, and that entire water flooded areas which had never experienced any flood. So here also the same situation is anyway going to happen. We are adding to that by narrowing the river channel. So that is one case. Second case is that you have these walls all along the river, and if there is heavy rainfall in the hills around Pune city or in Pune city, there is no space for that water to go to the river. So that is going to flood the roads, the buildings. Now lots of new buildings have basements. We now have metro going underground. We have a whole lot of infrastructure that is going underground. That means aquifers are being cut. So all of that water which has come down has to find some way somewhere outside. So that is going to flood all of this underground infrastructure. It will be flooded on the surface. The river will also be flooded. So the entire city basically will be underwater.
we are preparing for the perfect storm.
So basically then my advice to everybody is that two advices. One is everyone should learn to swim. Secondly, everyone should buy a boat.
Those who can't swim should buy a boat, because that's what the Bangalore experience teaches us, and to a certain extent even the Gujarat experience taught us that. Yeah. So thank you very much, Arti. So interestingly, we are always asked, you guys don't want to do development, you're in the way of things, and you all are not trying to encourage whatever they are. The fact of the matter is, Pune is 7,200 square kilometers, and we once upon a time had 400 kilometers of roads in 1990, and now we've got 4,000 kilometers of roads. But people don't understand perhaps that when you build more roads, you get more traffic. It's not the other way around. Yeah. So you think that you build more roads and you get more road? No, you build more roads and you get more traffic. Building roads incentivizes traffic. So has there been any math in terms of how this road development, so to speak, these 40 bridges and flyovers we've built, these things that we've done in these past 20, 30 years, and still we've got all these traffic jams, has there been any math in terms of how we are influencing our own climate?
So not in those terms, like exactly how much concrete infrastructure has been created versus how much our carbon footprint has increased. But there was a study by Terry which estimated that Pune citizens' carbon footprint was, I think, 1 point something per capita.
PIC data is 2.6 crore tons for the entire, and they match, I think.
No, exactly, that's what I'm coming to. That the Terry study was a few years back, I think a decade back, where it was less than 2 ton CO2 equivalent per capita. And now when Climate Collective Pune, under the leadership of PIC, when we did the analysis, it comes to around I think 2 point something. So within a decade or so, there has been an increase in our carbon footprint. Now that comes from a variety of causes. It's not, you can't connect all of that, you can't dump all of that sin on the infrastructure in the city. But there is definitely an increase in our carbon footprint, but it is a global phenomenon that as populations or as settlements urbanize, as more and more people come out of poverty, the consumption essentially goes up, and whether it is goods or services, everything is ultimately powered by fossil energy, and therefore the carbon emissions will also go up. across the world, in the developed world particularly, there is now a growing realization that we can't keep on going in this way, and therefore new development models are being experimented where people are trying to see whether we can scale down on resource consumption and still live a fulfilling life. So the thing is that the developing countries seem to be on a trajectory which follows the path of developed countries, whereas we have an opportunity to leapfrog.
So we
can learn
we
from
will
the
bugger
mistakes.
things up first and then.
Exactly, it's
but
not
we,
necessary
But we
to
won't
do that.
leapfrog, eh?
Yeah, but it's not necessary to do that. We can learn from their mistakes and find our own path. Unfortunately, the political will doesn't exist for that. And that also happens because citizens also are aspiring towards what they see in, let's say, New York or London. I mean, people are also traveling all across the world now. Communications have
So then-
brought the world in our drawing room.
All the
So
more,
it's
all the more
linked.
reason for us to leapfrog, maybe.
Exactly, but what happens is the current glorified version of the commercial urbanization is what becomes the aspiration, and then that drives the politics, because we call them political leaders, but essentially they are followers of public opinion.
They are, yeah. They don't think ahead of public opinion.
So
They don't think further. They don't think
exactly.
further
So
than
that
public
is why I feel that as much as it is important to engage with policymakers, it's equally or perhaps more important to engage with citizens.
And I think we are doing that tomorrow at 29th
Yeah.
at 5 p.m. tomorrow. Come join us. We are doing that because we want to engage with you. We want to speak with everybody. Priyadarshini will be there. I will be there. Many of us academics will be there. We are at fault for not having communicated enough, but we will correct this. We will engage more.
Yes,
Right?
definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you.